Recording is in progress, so she says. Well, I guess I should introduce myself. If you're seeing this on my social media, I'm Tim, and I'm launching into a sports talk podcast kind of thing. And tonight, my good friend, Dave Borchardt, has agreed to be my guest, if you want to call him a guest. We're here just to talk about anything, but kind of sports based. So how's it going, man?
Good. I was thinking about this, and I think this will be like a sneak peek for all the listeners about what we do when we go run for 4 or 5 hours straight when it's like -2 degrees. And this will be like a little bit of glimpse inside our craziness.
I've thought about, the conversations we have when we're out on the trail running, go all over the place for a long time. So I was thinking maybe we should talk about some of that stuff, but some of it we can, but some of it we probably don't want to bring up here and capture in a digital form. But it is fun, and that's true. So I've known you a long time. I don't know how many years now, but we've spend a lot of time out pounding the pavement, running together, and then doing a lot of other fun things, and just kind of being friends. And I've always valued your friendship, but also your knowledge about sports. And you're a sports much more than me. You've made a career in the sports world. So that's one of the reasons I kind of wanted to connect with you as one of my early guests, because you know so much more than I do. And I really enjoy that.
I don't know about that. If we're talking about baseball, way more than I do. Way more. I may have you on soccer, and then we may be a push on the Chiefs. So I don't know. I think it's why we get along so well. We both like running, and then we're both just sports junkies and Kansas City junkies. So it's definitely, it's made us fit pretty well together.
Yeah. Well, and I think, we've been down similar paths. I've got 2 sons. You have 2 sons. I've got a wife. You've got a wife. I've got a dog. You've got 2 dogs. I got the cat, but you don't have.
We both have a son named Jack, which is fun.
We do both have, kids named Jack. So in fact, I was just on a friend, I have a weekly Zoom call with some old friends of mine. I think I've told you about them because we talked about your son, Jack, who's the vegan now.
He's vegan. Oh, man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My friend Yoichi is the guy I was telling you about, who is completely plant-based, doesn't do any oils. And I told him that you and I had talked, and you were telling me about your son becoming a really diehard, or, launching himself, throwing himself into the vegan world. And just how, he's 13.
So he's 15.
15, that's right.
It's funny. This happened like 4 or 5 weeks ago. And at the time I told him, I said, it would be way easier for us if you just went vegetarian, because vegan is, what do you got there, Tim? That looks intriguing.
It's
a Schneiderbach or what?
Fat tire, my friend.
Oh, fat tire. That's a good one. But yeah, so he went into he went straight from normal kind of clean eating, lean protein, veggies, fruits, all that stuff, to straight to vegan with skipping vegetarian. And then on top of that, now he's oil-free, dairy-free, and wants organic everything. So, it is like the hardcore of hardcore meals. And I know people like me and you, we try to eat healthy, but we run so much, some of the time we just don't care. Maybe a lot of the time we don't care.
Most of the time.
It's been a big adjustment for our household, having that strict of a diet as, 1/4 of our family.
Well, it just seems, my friend is 57, or 56, but when you're at that point in your life, you've been around a long time. See, 15 seems pretty young to have that wherewithal to want to commit to something like that. But it's amazing and pretty incredible that he's so certain that this is something that's good for him. And so we'll be curious to see I'll be curious to see how long he's, if it's a forever thing or if he adapts and changes as he goes.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I feel like I'm a bad dad because I'll influence him and I'll be like, you can have a cheat meal every now and then. And he's like,
you yourself, as an athlete, as a runner, you tried the keto diet. A year ago, last January, I think it was.
Yeah, it was that race
before we went to Illinois together.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the Illinois Marathon. Shout out Illinois Marathon.
Shout out Illinois.
Yeah, I did 3 or 4 months of keto diet. I lost like 15 pounds, and I didn't have a bunch of weight to lose anyway.
Right.
But yeah, the problem, and it's worked for some people, but the problem with keto, in my opinion, for endurance athletes is, unless you know a secret, endurance athletes for the most part depend on carbs, right? And keto is 0 carbs. So Yeah, I think it's really tough to do it, but the plant-based diet is interesting. I know you've experimented a lot more with that than I have, and I think there's probably more evidence to say you could be a great endurance athlete with a plant-based diet than there is to say you could be a great endurance athlete with a keto diet.
There's a lot out there, and I've gone through so many phases of trying to figure out what's the right thing to do, what's best for me. And I've tried being a vegetarian. I did try being a vegan. I've tried being keto before. I've kind of gone the whole gamut, but now I'm back to just eat what I want to eat, but try to be sensible about it, try to be balanced with it, and don't tell myself I can't have anything. But if I have something, try not to eat too much of that, and make sure I'm still eating a well-balanced, diet as much as I can. But I'm not very good at it because I eat a lot of shit, and I'm drink beer and wine, and so I'm not a role model by any means. But anyway,
Well, if it makes you feel any better, last night I was tired because I did a run outside, and it was hot yesterday, and I was sitting there and it was like 9 o'clock, and I said, I want a sweet, and I got like a half gallon of ice cream out of the fridge, eat out of it with a spoon. So if that makes you feel any better,
it makes me feel a lot better.
you're not alone. You're not alone.
Not alone. Well, before we get to a couple of topics, I just want to see, this is not really even a show. This is just you and me talking. So if I'm pretending it's a show, it's just for my own fantasy, I guess. But
hey, it's not a show, but don't forget the sponsors, Tim.
My wife is an advocate for Green Compass, which is a CBD oil company. So if any of you are interested in CBD, I'm a user of it. Give me a call. I can connect you with her, and she can tell you about the benefits of it. And that's what this hat is too. So I'm gonna take this off so I can have better lighting here. So I see your old AFL Chiefs poster or banner up there. Let's start with the Chiefs. What do you think about before we get into OTAs or as we get into OTAs and before we get into training camp? First of all, where is training camp going to be this year?
So they announced in the last couple of days that they can be back at St. Joe again. And I don't know about you, I've never been there.
I never have.
I used to work at Sports Radio 810 full time right after college. And I went to River Falls, Wisconsin 3 or 4 times. And now that it's only an hour away, I've never been there. So I feel like I'm a terrible Chiefs fan. So we should go this year.
Well, and so, but it's a full camp, public welcome. No.
Yeah, I think so. And they've announced 100% capacity at the games.
Yeah, I saw that.
Interesting.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's funny. I'm going to the Sporting KC game this weekend. We're taping this right ahead of Memorial Day weekend. And so we're going Saturday night, and it's going to be 100% capacity. And it'll be the first sporting event I've been to since the Sporting KC season opener in like March 1st, 2020, that I've had people kind of shoulder to shoulder. So
wow,
it's going to be super weird. I hate to say that because I've been vaccinated. My wife's been vaccinated. It's outdoors. We're safe. But it's gonna take some getting used to just going right back into that 100% thing, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. I think last night my mom and I went back to the Kansas City Symphony. They had their first in-person performance at Hellsberg Hall in 63 weeks. So we were there last night, and they had quite a bit of protocol going on, a very reduced crowd. I don't know how many, but it was very small. Everybody had to wear a mask, and they didn't have programmed. All the touch surfaces had been minimized. And so, but just being there and hearing live music and watching musicians in person was awesome. And I'll feel the same way when I get to a Royals game here soon, hopefully, and or any other event. So, although I think the one event that I did go to was with you. We went to, me and Dave went to the sporting game with you last season.
Yeah.
That was in mid-COVID, but it was still pretty minimal fan attendance at that point.
Yeah, and that was similar because, like you said, it was minimal. It was probably 30% capacity, and even though it was outside at that time, everybody had to wear masks. And now it seems like outdoor events are almost like they were pre-COVID. That's what it's going to even this weekend. But indoor events is still maybe different rules. It seems like.
Well, we like what the Chiefs have done this offseason, and we like where we are going into the fall. And I can't believe I forgot. Somebody was predicting different, making predictions for the season. And they said, I think the Colts are going to go 15-2. And I'm like, oh, wow. But then I thought, wait a minute, that's 17. And then I realized they actually did add another game this year, right?
It's crazy. Right? So they'll never be a 500 team again unless the team goes 8-1, I guess.
And tie. Yeah.
It also messes up the records. I know you're a big stat dork, so, especially for baseball. So like
Right.
now, like all the records have an asterisk behind them. Could Mahomes set the all-time single season passing mark, more easily? And
Oh,
I know
for
you
sure.
said like things we like. I know we'll talk about a lot about things we like. I do like the Chiefs off season. But I'll talk about something I hate at the start. I hate Tom Brady more than ever, and I'm still not over the Super Bowl. I'm still pissed.
Are
And
you worried about the Bucks being a contender again in
I
the
mean,
fall?
they should be because, you look at the NFC, Drew Brees retired, Aaron Rodgers is holding out.
Who knows where
Um,
he's going? Yeah.
so then, who else is great in the NFC? The whole NFC East is terrible. The
Yeah, I
North,
don't know.
is kind of the Packers and everyone else. So, and then the South is what?
Seahawks. I don't know.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I think the Bucks are the betting favorite in Vegas to go back to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs are the overall betting favorite in Vegas to win the Super Bowl. So I
Yeah.
know there were some sound bites this week of Travis Kelce that he's still pissed about the game, and he said he wants a rematch in the Super Bowl in LA against Tampa. So I like that. If they're using that as motivation, that seems like that could be a good thing.
I don't think in all the Super Bowls, and I'd have to look it up here because I don't think I know for sure, but I don't think there's ever been a back-to-back, two teams back-to-back in the Super Bowl.
I don't remember one in my lifetime. If it's happened, I think it would have been old-timey 60s,
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah, I don't think there ever has been, but but it could, maybe this is the year. If it is going to happen, this could be it. But I like what the Chiefs have done, especially on the offensive line. I forgot about Tardif. I forgot we even had him because we didn't have him for a whole year. And oh wow, he's back.
Yeah, it's funny. They have 9 or 10 legitimate offensive linemen. I think they're going to get to the point at the end of camp where they have to either trade or cut.
They got to make a move. Yeah, they can't.
It would have started for them like last year. So I love it. Like some might say was overkill because, the offensive line was fine all year, even as guys kept dropping week after week. Like the offensive line kept clicking until the Super Bowl, until Fisher went out with that ACL. And then it was like they were the worst offensive line in football. Like it was so bad that
bad timing.
Mahomes played his ass off, right? Like he was doing everything he could. And
he was like the Matrix.
Yeah, it still wasn't enough because guys couldn't catch and because the offensive line, he was running for his life the whole time. So it's almost like they overkilled the offensive line, but I guess as a fan, I love it because now they could go from the offensive line in the Super Bowl being the biggest weakness on the team. And now you could see a scenario where maybe it's a top 5, I think for sure a top 10 offensive line in the NFL. So I'm really excited. I think they lost Sammy Watkins, which, we could have a whole hour podcast about Sammy Watkins.
Is it really a loss?
Well, I was going to say when healthy, a good player.
But he never played much.
Played about 40% of the time.
Yeah.
They lost him. They didn't really replace him. But what I like is the offensive line is so much better. If Mahomes has 6 seconds to throw instead of 3 seconds, right. I think that Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson and Hardman and those other guys should be able to get open. I think Mahomes is going to have a ton of time. And I think the offense maybe could get back to what we saw a couple years ago when Mahomes was MVP of the league. I think with him having so much time to throw, I'm super excited for what the offense could be. I think it's going to be a really fun year again.
Do you think that with his toe and whatever else was bugging him that he's going to be more comfortable not having to be Superman and just kind of staying behind the line and throwing a little more from the pocket?
I hope so. I think one of the tough things with him is his instinct is that, like, I'm going to go for the jugular and I want to throw 30, 40, 50 yards as often as I can. And I think, like, he has to mentally check himself to say, like, okay, I'm going to take the 5-yard dump off to the guy coming out in the flat or whatever. So, I think that's going to be part of it too, is can he kind of relax and now he doesn't have to worry about the pass rush so much. It take his time to kind of survey the field. I do think they'll probably call less runs, like they've done a decent amount of like, oh, it's going to be an option and he's either going to pitch it or he's going to run with it. But if you think back to last year, he had those concussion type symptoms on a quarterback run. He got his turf toe injury on one of those design quarterback plays. So he's a good runner. He's mobile, but I think they may call less designed running plays just to keep him safe.
Well, let's go through it real quick. So week 1, we're at the Niners. Who do you like?
Okay. You're talking preseason.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's preseason. I got to.
We don't want to analyze the
regulars. We don't care
preseason, right?
about that. But so
Okay.
but that's the other thing. They added a regular season to make it 17, but they took away 1 or 2 preseasons.
They took away 1, which I mean, they could take away all of them as far as I'm concerned.
I
So
agree.
I love it.
So week 1, home against the Browns. That's kind of a cool matchup with Mayfield.
Big game. It's a playoff rematch. The Chiefs opened the season the same way last year.
That was a scary game too, man.
Oh yeah.
We could have lost that game.
Yeah, for sure. That was the Chad Henne that everybody's going to love him forever because he made a couple plays at the end of the game. And so, so the Chiefs are opening the season the same way they did last year. Last year, they had a rematch of the divisional playoff game against Houston, which was another crazy game. And the Chiefs opened up at Arrowhead and they kind of kicked the crap out of Houston. So I'm hoping they'll have a similar result against Cleveland. I don't know what to think of Cleveland because they're one of those teams that seems like they're on the rise. Mm-hmm. But I don't totally buy into Baker Mayfield yet. I think he's okay, but he's got a little bit of like Johnny Manziel in him. Like his personality is a little bit over the top. So
yeah,
I think the Browns are solid, but I'd be surprised if the Chiefs lose. Andy Reid's, I don't know if you heard the stat. He's like, I don't know, 17-3 in season openers. And the crazy stat about the Browns is they're like 1-19 their last 20 season openers. Like they're horrible. So I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm
going to say Chiefs will win that game too. And then they go at the Ravens. So there again, that's kind of a mystery team too. The one team we all, in our long runs, we fear the Ravens and the Chargers quite a bit last year. But
so Lamar Jackson's 0-3 against Patrick Mahomes. The Ravens are good every year. You would think one of these years they'd beat the Chiefs because they're always pretty good, but it seems like the Chiefs are a bad matchup for them. So I'm going to, again, take the Chiefs.
We killed them early in the year. Was it week 3 or 4? It was like 45 to.
Yeah, it was like a Monday night game, and everybody thought it was going to be the game where the Ravens kind of took the torch from the Chiefs, and the Chiefs just blew them out of the water.
Yeah. So I'll go with the win at Baltimore. Then the team, I don't know what to make of the Chargers. Now they got a new coach. I don't know the Chargers are the third game. I kind of hear at home.
That's at home, right? That's at Arrowhead. Yeah. They have a great young quarterback, it seems like. I thought their coach sucked.
He's an old young quarterback now, though. He's not so much young now. This will be his 3rd or 4th season, right?
No, Justin Herbert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he so if you remember last year, Tyrod Taylor was supposed to be the starter.
Oh, that's right. I thought that was the year before.
Remember he got his lung punctured in like a pregame injection. And so Herbert had to start against the Chiefs with like 5 minutes notice. Like it was crazy. Yeah. And that was his first start. So he had like a really, really good rookie year. Yeah. And he seemed good. I thought their old coach was terrible. So I'm worried about the Chargers. I think they're the second best team in the division, but I would still think at Arrowhead, I would take the Chiefs.
I'm going to take the Chiefs. I think what a bum set of circumstances for Taylor, because he was the starter for the Browns and got wiped out, and then that's what opened the door for Mayfield to get thrown in. So everywhere he's kind of got the starting job, he doesn't keep it very long.
It's kind of like Teddy Bridgewater. Like he keeps going from team to team, and he keeps getting screwed.
Getting hurt and screwed. So then we go to Philadelphia.
Andy Reid's homecoming. I mean, on paper, that's like the easiest road game of the year. So I would have to think the Chiefs win. The Eagles.
I don't even know who their quarterback is now.
So it's Jalen Hurts. He was at Oklahoma 2 years ago. Left-handed guy. Used to be at Alabama too. He was Alabama's quarterback, and then he transferred.
So
he's a good young quarterback, but it'll be his second year.
So we're starting out 4-0. We're pretty good so far. So then we come back and we play the Bills here. Maybe we got to lose. We're not going to go 17-0. We got to lose somewhere, right?
Well, you never know. Well, the funny thing about the Chiefs is I agree with you. I don't think they're going to go 17-0. I think they'll be between 13-4 and 15-2 or something. But like last year, if I was going to tell you they went 14-2, which they did, you would have never thought they would have lost at home to the Raiders and the Chargers. So I think the fun thing about picking the schedule is we're not going to be able to pick who they lose to because it's almost like a random thing. Like I almost feel like they have a better chance of losing to a team they shouldn't lose to, where they just don't get up for the game.
Well, maybe that's the next game, which is Washington at Washington. Yeah. That could be the letdown.
Sure. I think they will lose one of those two games. I have no idea which one. The Bills game is a huge game. It's Sunday Night Football, I think, which is cool. It's a rematch of the AFC title game, which is cool. What I don't know, and we've talked about this a lot on our runs, is like, who's going to be the team that can actually knock the Chiefs down a peg? because they've been in the AFC title game 3 straight years. We thought it was the Ravens. The Ravens couldn't get past them 2 years ago. They couldn't get past them last year. Now it sort of looks like it's the Bills. The Bills couldn't get past the Chiefs last year, and this is another chance for them to do it.
Yeah.
Last year, a lot of people picked the Bills to win that AFC title game, and the Chiefs killed them.
Yeah.
So, like, I do think they could beat the Chiefs. I think they're a very solid team, but I'd have a hard time picking them until I see them do it. You know, we're in the show me state, Tim. I need to see it.
I agree, man. But the next game could be the team that I'm thinking about. There's a couple of teams that I think fit the bill. Maybe one of them's the Titans. So
Yeah.
then we go to Tennessee next, and with their who's their great running back guy?
Oh gosh, Derrick Henry. I know we've talked about this when we've been out on the trails. The NFL player I would least like to tackle, Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Oh.
You imagine that guy coming at you.
No, I would run away.
I would run away. But so that's a game we could lose at the Titans. I mean, they may be a team that's, that could. Miami could be that team. The Colts could be that team, possibly. But I don't think there's one juggernaut AFC team that's going to clearly, rival us. I think we're that. I think we're we are that team that everybody else is shooting for. Don't you think?
I mean, that's the thing. I think
gotta be
for sure the Chiefs have taken the torch from the Patriots as like the bully of the AFC, which is crazy. I never thought I would see that.
Here's one that you and Bernadette are probably interested in. The Week 9, and the Packers are here. Are you going to be there?
So I do have 2 tickets. Me and a buddy split Chiefs season tickets. So we have 2 tickets. He goes to half the games. I go to half the games. So
I hope you got this one.
From Dallas. He picked the Cowboys, and then I got the second pick. So I picked the Packers for my wife. But if Aaron Rodgers is not there, she's made it clear to me that she may not be interested in attending because she doesn't know if she should be mad. Oh, Tim's in. Okay.
I'm in.
I think she doesn't know if she should be mad at the Packers or Rodgers right now. And we had a long debate today, and this is actually an interesting topic. I do think Aaron Rodgers is being a little bit of a prima donna and a little bit of a sensitive, baby, whatever you want to call him. But I put way more fault on the Packers, who have this top 10 all-time quarterback, and they don't communicate to him. And I told my wife, I said, it's a different kind of athlete than it was when Terry Bradshaw was a quarterback or whatever.
Right.
Like, you need to pamper these guys a little bit nowadays. You need to show them you love them. Right. And I don't know if you heard the clip this week. Alex Smith was on Colin Cowherd's show yesterday, and he said when the Chiefs took Mahomes, they told him they were thinking about doing it. They told him they still loved him. They told him he's still the starter. They explained it all to him. And that's like a nice, respectful, upfront way to do it. And the Packers did not do that when they took Jordan Love last year. And not to say you have to do it, but I think Aaron Rodgers has earned the respect. He's
worthy of that respect.
Deserves to be pampered a little bit. I mean, he's an unbelievable player. So the Packers, in my opinion, have really screwed it up. If he comes back, they're the team with Tampa to go to the Super Bowl. And if he doesn't come back, they're like a 500 team. So it's a horrible situation.
Without going too far down that road, what is it about? Is it about money, or is it about contract time, the length of contract?
So he acts like it's only about his relationship with the front office. I mean, in his life, he's probably made, I don't have his contract in front of me, more than $100 million. I think he wants to win, but he also wants to be treated with respect. And I think he feels like the front office doesn't have that sort of respect he's looking for. They don't value him as a person, and maybe they're just all about business. It's funny, but like we see the Chiefs, you hear rumors about like the Chiefs were talking about drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they called Mahomes and said, "Hey, what do you think?" Like, that's maybe a little bit too much the other way, but it's great.
Who's really running the show?
You can never see a scenario where Mahomes is unhappy with the way he's treated in Kansas City. And as a Chiefs fan, I love it because we finally got our Tom Brady, right? We got our Michael Jordan.
Absolutely.
Packers have screwed that up by not treating Aaron Rodgers the way he expected to be treated. So I don't know. I think it's a big misstep, and it almost seems like now if they don't fire the general manager, who's the guy he has a problem with, that he's going to retire or they're going to trade him or something. And I know we're going down the schedule, but the leading candidate right now is if he doesn't come back to the Packers, it sounds like there's a good chance the Broncos are going to try to trade for him. And it would be crazy to have Rodgers come into the AFC.
I don't want him to be in our division.
Well, I agree, but I'm kind of torn because I don't want him to be in our division because we win the division very easily each year, but it's also kind of boring.
Yeah.
Like, how exciting would it be if he came into the division? We played him twice a year. Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers have never played. So, I mean, that would be a pretty cool last 3 or 4 years of his career if him and Mahomes could face off.
Let's
Because,
get a little rivalry going.
yeah,
They have that organ. I don't know how long the GM has been there or the ownership, but they have the same. They fucked up the transition from
for sure.
from who's
Favre, yeah.
who is it?
Brett Favre.
Favre
Yeah.
to Rodgers. That didn't go very well.
Well, the thing I can't figure out is, they're a team that doesn't really have an owner. They're like owned by the fans, right? So,
Right.
like, who hires the president? I don't know. I assume
I
they
don't
maybe
know.
have a board of directors that gets elected by the fans who would make those decisions. But it's not a case where it's like, okay, Clark Hunt's not happy. He's going to fire the general manager. Or the
Right.
coach.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's just I think the Packers have such a cool story being a team that's owned by the fans and the fans are the shareholders. But this is a weird situation they're in, and I just wonder, like, who is the president really accountable to? Who's the general manager really accountable to? It's a weird situation.
Well, I agree. So let's finish out. So we the Giants were before the Packers. That's an interesting game.
We don't need to talk about that, right? That's a win.
Well, yeah, I think so too. But I mean, like you said, it could be the one team we should win that we
Maybe.
don't.
Yeah. It's a Monday night game at Arrowhead. Unless the Giants' young quarterback has gotten way better, I think that's a win.
So now obviously we've got the Raiders twice. They beat us last year. I don't know if I haven't followed them. Are they going to be better this year? I doubt it.
People think they've gotten worse, but they gave the Chiefs trouble both games last year. They beat them here, and the Chiefs needed a touchdown to Kelsey in the last minute to win in Las Vegas. So I don't know if it's a bad matchup for the Chiefs, but I think those games will be tough. I mean, I don't think the Raiders are a Super Bowl contender, but they've given the Chiefs trouble the last couple of years.
Yeah, they could get a win, and then of course, like you said, with your ticket sharing friend, the Cowboys, he got the Cowboy seat.
Yeah,
I think Dak is back, and I mean, who knows? They could be pretty good this year. They still have the nucleus, right? Who's their running back?
They got
Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah.
They got Amani Cooper, the receiver. So yeah, they're kind of loaded. I mean, I think if you boil it down to like Dak versus Mahomes, I think Mahomes is an A plus and Dak's maybe a B plus. So
for sure,
I'd always lean to the Chiefs unless they're playing just a great team. I think Dallas is good, but I assume the Chiefs will get that done. But it's funny, you're reading through the schedule. It's probably the best home schedule the Chiefs have ever had. Every team that has a huge traveling fan base is coming to Arrowhead this season. Steelers, Cowboys, Packers.
Yeah.
That's like the three big boys in terms of like NFL fan bases, and they're all coming here. It's crazy.
Well, and the Bengals, they're coming.
It's a little different.
Does it get any better than an early January game against the Bengals? We'll all be there for that, won't we?
No, I mean, it's funny when I haven't told my friend Seth this yet. He's the guy I share tickets with, but I strategically try to pick as many games as possible, September, October, and early November, because I don't want any part of December and January.
That's a brutal game. What was the game you were telling me about that was like the worst, coldest game you went to? It was rainy and
oh, that was against the Bengals.
The Bengals. That's why
memory is sparked. It was like Marty Schottenheimer era, early 90s, 35 degrees and pouring rain the whole time. And the Chiefs were good and the Bengals were horrible. And the Chiefs barely won like 13-10. Like it was just a nightmare.
Then I didn't mention, of course, we have the two games against the Broncos and the Steeler game. So I don't know anything about the Broncos as far as if they're going to be any good or not, but I got to feel we'll at least win one of the two against the Broncos.
Yeah, I think so. Everybody thinks the Broncos are kind of a quarterback away from being a real serious contender. So, Drew Lock's okay. Teddy Bridgewater's okay. If they got Aaron Rodgers, then, that would be big time for them. So
you think 15-2 or 14-3?
If I had to pick right now, I would say 15-2 or 14-3. If Mahomes stays healthy, I guess I'd lean towards 15-2. I guess with this team, I think the offense will be great if they can stay healthy. The defense, I don't think is going to be anything great, but I think the Chiefs can outscore a lot of people.
Are you concerned at all about extending the season a whole nother game, another chance for injury or something to go wrong?
It's such a funny conversation, right? Like you hear players talk about the extra game, and you'd think that they were adding 10 games to the season. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm like not being empathetic enough, but like they're playing the same number of games overall. Now, granted, in the preseason, they may play a quarter of a game or a half a game.
Right.
But I mean, if it's that big a deal, I would think the Chiefs could be good enough that they do what they did last year and they rest the guys the last week of the season. And you even see that stuff in the NBA. Like there's games where fans are pissed because LeBron's coming to town, but it's late in the season and LeBron needs a night off and he gets a rest. So like you're talking about the Bengals, like teams like that, or teams like if the Broncos are terrible, like maybe the Chiefs take all the starters out at halftime. So I don't know. I think there's a way to deal with it. I mean, certainly I'm saying that as a guy that's never been tackled by another 300-pound person running at
Right.
20 miles an hour. So I know it's a brutal game, but I'm hopeful that the extra game in the season won't be like a huge change.
Well, one of the conversations we had last year on one of our long runs, mentioning resting players, and do you really, when the whole thing about the Jets, and they could have just laid down and gotten the number 1 pick, but they decided to win a few games at the end, and people were pissed at them.
Mm-hmm.
And versus teams that are clearly going to make the playoffs, and should they rest teams? And I don't know. I feel like I made the decision. If you need to play to win every game, even if it means you're going to play yourself out of the number 1 pick. And I'm proud of the Jets that they did that.
And I completely disagree with you.
I know you do.
If we were the Chiefs and the quarterback was whoever it was 10 years ago, like Tyler Palko or Brody Croyle, and I told you, Tim, we have Trevor Lawrence here. He's a college football national champion. He's a can't-miss number 1 quarterback. And all we have to do is lose our last 2 games to get him. We have a horrible quarterback, and we're about to get a great quarterback. You have like greater moral standards than me, because I'd be like, bench them all. Because I need the sure thing quarterback, especially like it's different now too. Because like 15 years ago, the NFL was different, and now it's like if you don't have a top 10 quarterback, you shouldn't even play a season. Almost, it's crazy. It's so important now.
What was the other rule change? I was asking my son about confirming that it was 17 games because I had forgotten about that. But is it also, there was another COVID adjustment they had made last year, and I don't remember if it was, I'll think of it before we're done here, hopefully. But there was another question I had for you, but I can't remember it. But it had something to do with one of the changes they had made. They had talked about adding the extra game. They reduced the preseason by 1, and I don't remember. Is it still? Did they change the kicking off or something, or is that still?
I don't know. I feel like they changed the onside kick rule like a year or 2 ago, and now that was bad because now no one gets an onside kick anymore. But,
all right. Well, I'm just not remembering very well, which is not unusual for me. So let's jump to real quick. Did you see that video I sent you about what happened in the Cubs-Pirates game today?
Yeah, like literally one of the biggest brain farts in baseball
history.
Is
that guy down in the minors now? Like, or the coach? How do you mess that up?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest though. I've never seen a runner going up the first baseline run back to home. So maybe it just freaked the guy out.
Is it even? I wondered, is that even legal? You can't go back to home?
I mean, you're not going out of the baseline. I assume if he actually made it to the plate, they would have called him out. But at that point, he's still in.
But they wouldn't call him safe at the plate. They'd have to call him out,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I assume because at that point he's out of the base path, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, it's funny. That's the thing, when you see things that after they played this game 150 or 60 years, there's still crazy shit happening that you never expect to see. So
you would not expect to see something in baseball you've never seen before.
So let's go to my favorite topic, is the Kansas City Marathon. Nice. We did not arrange that.
We did not.
For those of you that don't know Dave, Dave is the race director and whatever else your other title is for the Kansas City Marathon. And so what's going on this year? Different course?
Yeah.
Full event? No COVID restrictions? Or
no. So it's funny. We'll see what the COVID guidelines look like in the fall. We've been planning all along for people to be able to run with no masks and to have masks on before and after the race. But that was the planning until about 2 weeks ago. And now it seems like everything is up in the air and maybe there will be very little, if any, COVID type of guidelines. So we'll see. I mean, we're definitely going to take whatever precautions are, recommended by the CDC at that point in time. But no, we're really excited. We had to change the course because if anyone's been downtown recently and on Main Street, it's completely torn up all the way from the plaza down to Pershing, right by the World War I Memorial. and they're doing underground construction on the utility lines and the sewer lines and all this stuff in
Right.
advance of the streetcar. Eventually, the streetcar is going to go all the way from where it stops now at Union Station all the way down to UMKC. So long term, that's great, but it's still a couple years away. So construction's ongoing between now and then. So I guess the long story short is all the races that are downtown are now having to change their courses. Hospital Hill's coming up in like 10 days. They've had to change their course, so they stay east of Main Street the entire time. We've had to change our course to where we only cross Main Street once, and it's at the very start of the race, a quarter mile from the start. So we're starting and finishing right in front of the Nelson Atkins. I know you know this, Tim. We don't have a super easy course. It's not an impossible course by any means, but it's a challenging course. It's a Kansas City course, right?
It's a great course, no matter where you put it. Yeah.
But the cool thing about it is we run past all the big landmarks in Kansas City. So
that's
now,
what makes it great. Exactly.
Now getting to finish at arguably the biggest Kansas City landmark is awesome. We're going to have a huge after party at Tice Park there. Runners can go pose in front of the shuttlecocks with their medal after the race. It's going to be awesome. So we're excited about that. Would definitely encourage people to check it out, kcmarathon.org. If you hate running, you can come walk. If you hate walking, you can come volunteer or you can come spectate.
What
Tim,
are
I
the,
know you did a race. You did a race. This is before I got into running. I've been running seriously for 7 or 8 years, but I know maybe 10 years ago, there was a North Face Marathon, right?
Yeah.
It started and finished at the same spot. And it sounds like that was a pretty cool race.
It was awesome. Yeah, I did that. They were here 2 years in a row. And yeah, it was a great spot to start and finish. And then the after party is right there on that big mall in front of the Art Institute. Really nice. So yeah, I think it's a great spot for you guys. So
tell people about your streak. I mean, you've either ran the Kansas City Marathon every year for 20 years, or you've done most years for like out of the last 20. What's your streak?
Well, let's see. The streak would be, let's see, I did 2002 was the first, and then I did 2005, and then I took 2006 off, and then I've done every one since 2007. So whatever.
And full marathon every year, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's and different courses, iterations along the way. But how long have you been the race director?
So I came on board to the sports commission in 2016, and I started as race director in 2017. So
gotcha. Well, I think, and then what are the distances that are available for people? You don't have to run the marathon. You got a half marathon.
Yeah, 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon.
So in a 5K,
walkers are also welcome for every distance except the full marathon. We had an 80-year-old guy walk our half marathon 3 years ago with a walker. Awesome. So like if you're looking for a reason to get moving, to get off the couch, or maybe you're someone who's become a runner during the pandemic, we'd love to have you. Or if you just want to come walk, like you said, 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon.
And drill down, a 5K is 3.1 miles, a 10K is 6.2 miles.
Yeah,
half marathon is
13.1. Right. The granddaddy of them all, 26.2.
Yeah, how far is your marathon, Dave?
Also 26.2.
26.2.
So Tim, you're a stat guy. I read a great stat this week. So there was a company that surveyed people who identified themselves as runners. Okay, 28% of the people said they took up the sport of running during the pandemic.
Wow.
I'm sure you've seen this out and about, like where we live in Lee Summit. There's way more people walking and running and biking than there were 2 years ago, which is one of the few positives of this whole COVID pandemic.
For sure, man. I just up and down where I live here on Longview, all throughout last summer and spring, there were more people that there are people that I've seen every year that are always out every year, but then there were so many people that I had never seen, and they were out every day, every week walking. And yeah, it was amazing. And then even when the Rock Island Trail opened, and we've been out there on days where you're constantly just trying to weave in and out of the crowd out there. So
like, I'm excited as a race director because I hear 28% essentially new runners. And it's like, man, how many of these people can we convert into race participants? Because I know you're like me, like we love our training runs, but really the training runs are all about getting ready for the race, because the race is like the payoff for all the training.
The hard part's the training, right?
Yeah, nobody really likes running for 4 hours when it's -2 degrees, but we did it.
We did it.
And we didn't even get to do our race because we were both training for a 50-mile race, and we both got hurt because of the stupid training. So we didn't even get a reward.
Well, the reward was just all the fun time hanging out with you, man.
That was fun. That was fun. I would have liked the ultimate prize though.
That would have been nice to have the payoff of the actual event. But and then will there be full aid stations? I know that was another COVID worry last year as you were planning. Will that be back this year?
Yeah, and again, like we'll do whatever the CDC says when we get to the fall, but there's been a lot of data recently that says the virus has a really tough time transmitting outdoors. It has a really tough time transmitting through contact to surfaces. It used to be that everywhere you went, they'd sanitize things.
Wipe your groceries
minutes.
down, right?
And I think that's sort of changed. Like it's not happening as much anymore, at least most places. So yeah, I think it's going to look totally different in the fall. Like there will be aid stations, there will be volunteers. Will it be
do you need
bottles, will it be
volunteers?
cups? Yeah, and that's the other thing. Yeah, so people that hate running, we'd love for them to consider volunteering. We need 1,500 volunteers each year. So we would love to have people come out. And I think a lot of people don't know, but I work for the Kansas City Sports Commission. We're the group that manages the Kansas City Marathon, the Garmin Kansas City Marathon. And we're a nonprofit organization. So for us, we can't afford the staff to pull off this race by ourselves. We need legitimately 1,500 volunteers. And for us, this is the biggest fundraiser we have each year. So we'd love for people to consider volunteering. And, you can volunteer and spectate at the same time. So you could come cheer Tim on as he runs the full marathon and you could volunteer at the same time. It'd be a win-win.
It'll be a definite win. And the volunteers are so important, for everyone race you've done or I've done. When you have great volunteers, they create a great atmosphere. They're invaluable to make the whole event a success.
So the volunteers are great. They are invaluable. But we should at times criticize spectators. Like if you're going to come spectate, you don't want to be the person at mile 11 of the full marathon with a sign that says you're almost there.
That's a lie.
That's just infuriating. It's not true. Like you could just do 5 seconds of research. The volunteers never do anything stupid like that, but you can get some bad spectators sometimes.
But then you get the good ones, especially down by, or at least the old course down in the Waldo area when they're passing out beer, which is exactly where I need a cup of beer to refuel.
I mean, let's give some spectator tips real quick. So if you want to be a spectator, so offer to pass out free beer is great. It doesn't have to be a full beer, maybe just like a little sippy cup.
That's all you need is a little cup.
Maybe pass out some donuts, some bacon, some gummy bears. We've done this ourselves. We go out to the Longview Half Marathon each year and we create our own aid station. Funny signs are good, right?
Totally.
Like if it says Chuck Norris has never ran a marathon, that's a good sign. Or if it says you've been running longer than a Kim Kardashian marriage or like whatever. Like these stupid celebrity signs. Like
toenails are overrated.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Didn't we have a friend that wore a duck costume at a marathon before?
I've had a couple friends that have spectated in them. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, didn't Katie wear the duck costume?
Yeah, Katie and Shauna. So two of our good female running friends. They said what the duck, and they were out there. Yeah. I think they may have gotten on the news or something. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's jump to a new topic. Did you watch or go to the women's soccer game last night?
No, I didn't. Just because my son Landon is currently in soccer tryout mode. His coach is retiring, so we're trying to find a new landing spot. And he's had soccer practices almost every night. So we were doing that. But I saw they had a great crowd. I think really everything's clicking for them right now, except they haven't been putting together wins on the field. But their ownership group is doing great. It seems like they have a really good front office. I know a couple people that work out there. Their announcing team's good. They've done a good job with the stadium. I think the jerseys look really sharp. So I think if they can kind of get some momentum later in the season and start winning, I think they'll have it all put together. But I think
what are they called? I'm sorry, I don't know, but I don't.
So it's interesting. They're kind of like Washington football team, right? They don't have a permanent name yet. Right now, they're just calling themselves Kansas City Women's Soccer. It gets abbreviated as like KC WOSO is like kind of a nickname right now. But all this came together pretty quick over the last few months, and they really. My understanding is they really didn't have a lot of time to flush out a full, 1 year, 2 year research campaign. What should the name be? What should the brand be? And I think they were smart. I think they kind of picked a temporary name. And I think this time next year, I think they'll have a new brand and a new name.
As we were coming out of the symphony concert last night, the Kauffman Center had the teal lights on it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Hey,
those jerseys look good. I like them.
And but they play it. Are they at Community America or are they at Children's Mercy or Sporting Park?
So yeah, and I need to get the name right because it is the old T-Bone Stadium, which is now
T-Bone.
the
Now
Monarchs.
they're the Monarchs, right?
And it's not Community America Ballpark anymore. I think it's called Legends Field or Legends Stadium, I believe.
Right.
So yeah, it is that old venue, and the Sporting KC team back when they were the Kansas City Wizards.
They started there, right?
Well, they went from Arrowhead to Community America, and that was kind of like
They barely fit.
Yeah, there was the interim spot for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the plan with the KC women's soccer team as well. I think they're planning on building their own, killer stadium,
Wow.
soccer specific. But for now, this is where they're at. And I think the Wizards proved over a couple of years that it can work for soccer. And it's cool. Kansas City lost an NWSL team a few years ago, FC Kansas City.
Mhm.
And, a lot of people in town were bummed out because Kansas City is a great sports town. It's a great soccer town. And it's nice
Mhm.
to have a women's professional sports team back in town because that's kind of a missing area that now we have again.
No doubt. Hey, I remembered the football thing that I forgot about earlier. So one of the other things, didn't they allow one extra playoff team last year?
That sounds right. Yeah, because they had one less team get a bye, right?
So I don't know if did they adjust? Are more teams getting in the playoffs with more games this year?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like for the NFL, they'd probably like as many teams in the playoffs as possible and as many playoff games as possible so they can get as much TV money as possible. But I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll have to look that up. Hey, and then mentioned we wanted to talk about the PGA.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you watched some of it, part of it, a little bit.
So I haven't watched a round of golf in 10 years, 12, 15. It's been forever. Yeah. And then I saw on Friday that Phil Mickelson's winning after 2 rounds. So I thought, holy crap, I'm going to sit down and watch Saturday.
Yeah.
I watched every shot on Saturday, every shot on Sunday. My son Landon, who's sitting here eavesdropping on our podcast,
I better watch my mouth.
Every shot with me on Sunday, and he's never watched 5 minutes of golf, for the most part. So it was like something you'd see out of a movie. I mean, it was a 50-year-old guy who's not won a major since 2013. He hasn't finished in the top 20 for any tournament this year.
Yeah.
No player that old has ever won a major tournament.
No.
And he just turned back the clock. He said, screw you to Father Time. Like, he just went out there and took care of business. And one of the interesting things he talked about a lot was he's in better shape physically, but he said for him, it was all mentality. And he's been doing a lot of focus work and mindfulness and meditation. And, to see somebody that old do something that inspiring, it, makes me think I need to be doing more work on my mental side and my training and my running. Cause that's a huge deal for him. He's always had the physical skills to hit the heck out of the ball, but it's like he's improved his mental game so much. It sounds like that was a big key of it. And so something I didn't even know till after the round, his brother was caddying for him.
Yeah, I heard about that
too. I didn't even know that when they were, I don't know if that's a broadcast or not, but like that was a really cool part of it too. And I don't know if you saw the highlights of the crowds at the end.
I did.
It was something I haven't seen since before COVID. I mean, and even before COVID, you didn't see fans mobbing the golfers like that. That was insane.
I remember seeing it happen to Tiger many times, I know. And then even the old school, I remember, you see Arnold Palmer had the whole Arnie's Army that would kind of do the same thing, and some others too. But I didn't see it as it happened. I saw the highlights, and like we talked about the other day, he's a somewhat arthritic guy, right? He's got some physical issues, and I noticed his swing looks beautiful, and he looked fluid, but when he's moving and walking, he kind of looks stiff. And
it's like
I noticed that he had that big chaw in his mouth, and I thought, what the hell is that? Is he chewing tobacco? And then you said it was CBD gum.
I'm pretty sure he uses the company that your wife endorses. At least that's going to be our story.
Well, I don't know if he does Green Compass or not, but or who it is. But anyway, it's an amazing thing. And like more than anything, you're right. I think it's anybody, a 50-year-old maybe could still shoot a great score one day, maybe two, but to put 4 rounds together in a major, especially when the pin placements are really hard on the last day, especially, or the last 2 days, it's unheard of.
When I feel like me and you can relate to Mickelson, because if people see us running, they're like, oh, look at those guys. They look smooth. It's effortless. And
No.
if they saw us walking around like 20 minutes after we ran, they'd be like, man, those guys are limping. Like, what's wrong with
He
them?
can barely get out of off the couch, you know. Yeah, no, I agree. But I do think it's the mental aspect. I was, you know, in the music world that I like to follow as well. I was just watching a video the other day about there's a pianist named Martha Algrich who's going to be 80 next week, and she's still playing concerts, you know, with orchestras and these incredibly hard pieces of music by memory at age 80. And, you know, I know it's hard enough with your, you know, just physically to have that endurance, but to have the mental endurance to do what Phil did or what Martha does at the piano, those kinds of things are just are incredible. It's so much mental for sure.
Amazing. I know I don't know if I've talked about this with you, but I've talked about it with some of my friends is like, man, I should put a goal to like try to make the senior Olympics or something. Cause you see these videos of like, you're talking about that person, you see these videos of like 100-year-old guy doing like the 40-meter dash or whatever. And it looks like he's walking, right? So it's
Right.
like, well, shoot, that could be us. Like maybe that's something we can put
We'll
on our
finally
list.
get our chance if we make it that long.
Yeah, we just need to live long enough and not have any major
Just
injuries.
outlive everybody else and show up. Right.
I think our diets will prevent us from doing that, but it's a
I
good
don't know.
goal.
Yeah, I was telling my other friends, you know, between Doritos and Fritos and beer, I'm not necessarily the best healthy eater on an average day, but I try.
Like you said earlier, it's about like portion size and it's about percentages. So if you can be
Balance.
healthy 75% of the time, then the
Yeah,
other 25% of the time isn't that important as long as you're getting lots of cardio and good sleep and all that
got
stuff.
it. Exactly. Good sleep. Well, as we wrap up here, so you know, I know you work for and are a big fan of Sporting KC. So how are things looking so far?
Yep, here we go.
Yeah, I see that.
Good. Yeah. So as we speak here, they've won 3 of their last 4 games. They're in second place in the Western Conference, and they're not even fully healthy right now. So it looks like for this team, they have a lot of potential. They're not the team to beat. The Seattle Sounders are in first place right now. Seattle is a monster. They've made the MLS Cup 2 or 3 years in a row. But Sporting's good. This guy, Alan Pulido, who they got from Mexico last year, he's on the Mexican national team. He's played for the biggest teams in Mexico. And you can make a case he's the best player in Sporting KC history. I think it's like him or Preki, maybe. And so in the last 2 games ago, he had 2 goals and an assist. The last game, he had 1 goal and 2 assists. And he's just a monster. So he's been really good. Tim Melia just got back from injury. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the league. And like I said earlier, the stadium's going to 100% capacity starting this Saturday. So we know the fan base is there. You've seen it. It's a great home field advantage. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a really fun summer of soccer in Kansas City, not just the women's soccer team, but Sporting KC looks like they're really good again this year. So we'll have to do another guys' night, Tim.
Absolutely.
We'll have some beers with the running friends.
I'm all over it. That'd be awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, and let's do it again. There's a lot more we could talk about. We fill up all these long days out on the trail talking, so we can easily fill up a few of these shows too.
Dude, if you want to do one sometime, we can do it live while we're running. You got your selfie stick. You could just put it out.
We'll just talk as we go. Yeah. Like that time we called Robert on his birthday from the run.
Yeah. Our poor friend Robert, who's watching, maybe retired from running, but we miss you, Robert.
And we miss you, Robert.
We miss him so much. We call and just bug him for no reason at like 7 a.m. when we're running.
So. Because we're nice that way. So. All right, man. Well, hey, it's good talking to you. Have a good rest of the night, and I'll check in with you after I go see our friend at the Fit Place.
Sounds good. Yeah, good luck with your rehab, my friend.
Thank you. Talk to you later, man.
All right. See ya.
Bye.